Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars. SoundCartel. People with an athleticism or passion for sport have an acute sense of commitment, drive and focus. Being an ultramarathon runner is a journey not that many people would take, but the rewards and scale of leadership that it builds are unmistakable. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. What compels ultramarathon runners who put themselves through days of gruelling endurance, at times in the searing desert heat or across alpine trails? Kay Bretz is one such athlete. His first ultramarathon was the 250-kilometre Big Red Run in the Australian outback. He won, by the way, and set a new race record. In 2019, he was awarded the Australian Ultra Performance of the Year. And unsurprisingly, he's led a very successful career in boardrooms across Europe, Japan and Australia as a senior leader at consultancy firm McKinsey. He has his own consultancy business now called Turning Right, which is the same title as his book. The phrase, as you'll hear shortly, comes from his realisation that turning a different corner from what you're used to helps build resilience. First, though, Chris Ashmore asks Kay what sparked his interest in ultramarathon running.
Well, I'd been running marathons for more than 15 years, and there was that point where I noticed that it had all become just about performance, so just about running another personal best. And that excitement of doing something big and challenging had been fading away. But then one day I knew it was time for something new, and that was when I accidentally turned right at my garden gate. You say, it's just a different choice of direction, but for me it was way, way more, because I realized that I'd never turned right outside of my house, and it was a massive aha moment for me, because that was how I was leading my life, full of discipline and self-control. And from that day onwards, I wanted to turn right more often, obviously metaphorically speaking. So I wanted to explore the unknown territory and test my limits, and ultramarathons was a great way of doing that.
Well, there would have been easier ways, wouldn't there? Or was that the point?
That was absolutely the point. I had a sleepless night signing up for my first big ultramarathon. The point was doing something I was a bit scared of because, we're all capable of so much more. But for that, we have to play big. And I wasn't really playing big. That was the big aha for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, ultramarathons, what are we talking about here? How big are these distances? And how different are they than, say, the standard 42-kilometre marathon?
So ultramarathons can be anything which is longer than 42 kilometers. But I chose to jump into the deep end of the pool and signed up for a race which was called Big Red Run. And now we're talking 250 kilometers. So that was a completely different challenge to a road marathon. So certainly much longer, but also it was off-road, running through the Simpson Desert in the Australian outback. And I had absolutely no clue whether I would be able to finish that race. And the surprise was I trained for it, I did it, I embraced it. And in the end, I improved the race record by more than 5 hours.
So what kind of characteristics would you say you have or you need to be an ultra runner?
I think, so if I had to pick 3 characteristics, it would be delayed gratification, definitely a big one. Then the ability to bounce back from adversity, so some are resilience. And a sense of purpose, so really knowing your why, because that's what's going to get you through when it's tough and when giving up is the easiest way out.
What have you learnt from ultra running? What has it taught you?
I think my key learning is that our mindsets really determine whether we make small incremental gains or whether we experience significant step changes. And that's what we all want. We all want to have step changes, but quite often we just focus on acquiring skills. And so in the running world, it's pretty obvious that's training for speed and for endurance. But the interesting thing is that skills alone will not really lead to step changes because the question is not what do I need to learn, but the question is who do I need to be? And really that question of who do I need to be accesses a completely different energy and a completely different mindset as well. And we can broaden our perspective. And that's how I became the fastest ever Australian at the World Championships. So where I ran close to 260 kilometers in a 24-hour race. It had nothing really to do with the training I'd done for my legs. Obviously, I had to do that, but it was that holistic preparation and really getting the mind in the right headspace. And that's what any of us can do, whether we're running or not running. It's if we tap into that mindset, then all of us have much more to give.
Mazars is an international audit, tax and advisory firm committed to helping clients confidently build and grow their businesses. To find out how Mazars can support your business, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.
Now, you've had success in business as well, as a corporate senior leader and an associate principal at McKinsey for many years. What lessons have you taken from ultra running to the business world? Are there any similarities?
In my view, there's actually no real difference between sports and business. They are essentially, I think they are the same. So every race I do in running, it teaches me something new about how to be a better leader in business. And let's pick negative self-talk. And we all have that, let's be honest. We all have negative self-talk. And it's a perfect indicator that there is trouble on the horizon, if not even much closer to home in a way. Because what happens is that we're very often somewhere thinking about the past and, for example, beating ourselves up for a mistake we've made, or we're somewhere in the future. And that is somehow fearing a negative outcome. Yet we really have to be present to be at our best. And that is certainly true in business as well. And I would somehow say that's where most of us can actually become way better leaders, of being more present. And one will notice that we will step up our leadership capability when we do that, when we do some mental training around being present.
Now, you have your own business, Turning Right, the same as the book. Could you explain what the business is about?
So I'm most passionate about doing things we think they could not be done. So I'm talking about step changing how we see ourselves in relation to the world. So both in running and in business, I've had quite some peak experiences. And I think many of us will have had those peak experiences. But my question is, how can we have more of them and how can we somehow plan for them in a way? So my mission with my business is to help leaders unlock the magic they are capable of. So I help organizations navigate through their transformational journeys, and that helps them then overcome their biggest challenges they are facing. So that includes coaching executives, building high-performing teams, and certainly inspiring the wider business through keynote speaking.
Mm-hmm. For anyone who's stuck in a rut and finding it tough, whether it's to do with business growth or personal challenges, do you have any words of advice or inspiration?
Well, first of all, don't panic. So we all get stuck at times, and that is perfectly normal. Probably what helps me in those situations is just reminding myself that what got us here very often just doesn't get us to the next level. So when we see the challenge as an invite to turn right, that's probably it always helps me to say, what do I need to let go of what just doesn't work anymore? So where do I have to turn right? And it's probably time to just try a new approach and explore unknown territory. So yes, it's scary, but that is how we all grow. And for any listener, I'm really curious what magic is waiting for you on the other side of whatever challenge you're facing right now.
Are you still running?
Absolutely. So this morning I did a training marathon and I'm now done preparing for my next 320 kilometer race. So that's in 4 weeks' time. And so there will be a little bit of training, but I will ease it off now. And we'll be in South Australia from Murray Bridge to Eden and see how that goes. It's a long time to turn right.
That was founder of Turning Right and ultramarathon runner Kay Bretz. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.